In 1779, when Father Serra built the first Catholic mission in San Juan Capistrano, he planted Vitis vinifera, a common black wine grape used to make wine for religious sacraments as well as for daily life. By the 1870s, farmers in Oxnard were growing these mission grapes for the new Santa Clara Church. And about then, the Malhart family started a farm in northeast Oxnard. They built a farmhouse, a small brick winery, and several other farm buildings that remain today on what is now the Oxnard Historic Farm Park. The founder and director of the farm park is Jeff Malhart.
The farm park is one of the first areas that was actually in agriculture, going back to the 1870s. And the way it worked is that my family came here from Germany and they leased this land out here from Juan Camarillo, who owned like 4,000 acres on the Oxnard Plain. And so after leasing it for about 5 years, they're in position to buy it. They bought 1,200 acres for $10 an acre. And Godfrey Malhart retained 400 acres for several years. And the last of his property was sold in 1904 to the Filer family. And the Filers farmed it for the next 90 years. And from there, I was able to come in and get the developer to see the wisdom of saying the old buildings and creating a historic farm park on this site. So we're a nonprofit, we're a historical landmark, Ventura County 165, and we're full of volunteers, including the Master Gardeners of Ventura County. And with all that, we're going forward and creating a home for Oxnard history and ag history and a place for events. They had a vineyard here going back to the 1870s. Godfrey Malhart planted 250 grapevines of the choicest variety. And so almost 20 years ago, when we started this project at the Oxnard Historic Farm Park, we wanted to go ahead and plant variety that might be from that era. And then in California, before that time, they were using a different type of grape that they had over there toward a vineyard, which is why they call it vineyard, towards El Rio area. That wasn't too far from this spot right here. So I think some of the early farmers that came here knew that they could grow grapes, though the purpose of the grapevines that were grown here, supposedly to grow it and bottle it for the Santa Clara Church.
Dr. Annemiek Schilder is the director of the University of California Cooperative Extension. She is a plant pathologist who oversees the Ventura County Master Gardener Program, and she is an expert at growing grapes.
These vines actually are cuttings that originated from a vineyard in Santa Cruz Island back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. There were huge vineyards at Santa Cruz Island, mostly Zinfandel, and people really like the wine. And genetic testing has shown that it's related to a grapevine in Croatia in Europe, as well as to a wine variety named Primitivo in Italy. So somehow, maybe via Italy or directly from Croatia, the vine came here to California, and it's done really well in this climate.
Pests and diseases caused too many problems for those early grape farmers in Oxnard, and they switched to crops like strawberries. Dr. Schilder discusses the worst disease that plagued vineyards in Oxnard.
Pierce's disease is a serious disease of grapevines that is caused by a bacterium. The bacterium grows inside the vessels and plugs them up, causing the vine to not have enough water, and it eventually dies. The bacterium is vectored by an insect, glassy-winged sharpshooter. This insect actually, when it feeds on a diseased vine, picks up the bacterium and then spits it back out in a healthy vine and infects the healthy vine. In Ventura County, Pierce's disease is bad enough that it's a limiting factor for grape production.
Jeff Malhart's Zinfandel cuttings were successful, but like many plants, they needed pruning. So Dr. Schilder held a workshop.
We had about 25 people, and we talked about grapevines and also how to prune them, and then we went into this vineyard and had a pruning party. These were grapevines that had been grown for about 3 years without any pruning, and what happens then is you have a lot of shoots. Grape is a vine, so it climbs on things, but normally there's a lot of different shoots growing, and what we are trying to accomplish is that we have one stem going up the trellis and then two arms going out, which is called the cordon. And what we had to do is try to refashion these gnarly grapes with lots of shoots into this shape. And so obviously we weren't fully successful, but what we did is we cut out all the side shoots from the base. We tried to get the best cane going out this way to become an arm, and we also have to choose another one. Obviously this one was probably cut off too short, and here you can see one. We were trying to get about halfway if there was enough shoot to go. What is important to understand is where are the grapes produced, and the grapes are produced on last year's wood. In this case, this cane is last year's wood, and here are the buds that will produce the clusters. There are no grapes produced on this older wood, and so every year we have to cut back last year's wood to about 2 or 3 buds, and then you have about, here's another one, you should have about 1 every 4 inches or so. But it's very important to understand that the fruit is produced on last year's wood only.
Jeff Mulhart, Annemiek Schilder, and the Master Gardeners don't just want to raise wine grapes.
There's a couple reasons why we planted this grapevine. One, we want to connect the grapevines to the site because they had some here in the 1870s. And the other reason is we want to create another fundraising opportunity. And by growing the grapes and making some wine, maybe putting our own label on it with our Mulhart Winery on it, then we can raise money back for this nonprofit.